There seemed to be this sort of like unspoken but very believed rule that if a woman hasn't, if you haven't got there with a woman by the third date, maybe she's not interested and you should move on. But I never felt that kind of pressure in Japan.
Hey guys, today I am with Ellie. Ellie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Ali. I'm British, but I've been living in Tokyo for about 7 years almost. And I'm here doing YouTube, but I'm also married to a Japanese.
Before even getting married to a Japanese guy, like what brought you to Japan?
It's a bit of a complicated story, but basically I felt like my life in the UK or in London was very pleasant, I had nothing to complain about, but there was an element of life that I needed to discover about myself, about just growth, I suppose. And for some reason I felt like I would find that in Japan. So I came to kind of find myself, if you like, for 7 months, 7 month holiday.
All right.
And that was, almost 7 years ago.
What was like the first biggest cultural shock, or you were like, wow, this is totally different? What was it?
Oh, I mean, where do I begin really? Because, I think, and I still think, even after almost 7 years, that Japan is like a planet of its own sometimes. It's so unique and quirky in so many ways. And things that I saw when I first came here, I thought what? Like what, why kind of thing, like so many questions. But I guess one of the key things that really surprised me from living in London to living in Tokyo, both huge, busy metropolitan cities, is the consideration of people. The fact that my expensive, like my laptop or my phone or anything, it doesn't get stolen here, even in this busy city.
Wow.
Or the way that it's so clean and orderly and tidy.
Right.
Even though it's like so busy, full of people coming and going, it's completely new, like different level.
What is dating culture in Japan when you compare to UK?
I felt that, mainly it was European men that I dated in the UK.
Right.
I felt like they were very much in a rush to, how can I say this, like reach a point of intimacy. And there seemed to be this sort of like unspoken but very believed rule that if a woman hasn't, if you haven't got there with a woman by the third date, maybe she's not interested and you should move on. But I never felt that kind of pressure in Japan. My subscribers, they've said, there's no ladies first culture in Japan. But I'm like, I don't know what ladies first really means then, because I've just found Japanese men to be so gentlemanly and chivalrous and courteous and respecting a woman's time, pace kind of thing. I've found Japanese men to be the most chivalrous.
How long you guys been married?
Okay, this is the details here. So we started dating in like the January, and not this year, but previously. We started dating in January, and then we got married like that same year. So it was all very fast. And I'd say that our whole relationship, like it hasn't really gone in this typical, you date for a certain period of time, you get engaged, you get married. It hasn't gone like that at all. Because to be honest, we started dating and then Corona happened. And then we kind of thought like, should we just like quarantine together?
All right.
And so, I was basically kind of just living in his house anyway. And then he was like, should we get married? And it was like, yeah, okay. Like, honestly, it was kind of like, it was completely a surprise.
Wow.
But then it was like, let's give it a go.
You already knew the culture, of course, but then were there like big cultural differences that you realized or noticed?
In terms of me, I'd say that yes, I have definitely changed since marrying him, because things that I just like didn't see or didn't think about before, like now, I'm married into Japan, like I kind of have to think about it. For example, just like a small thing, but it's pretty important, like clothing. Like in the summertime, I'd wear like a strap top and a skirt, just like I would in the UK. But that's just not appropriate in Japan, So little things like, I can't wear things like that here, I have to shift like that. Or finally deciding to take Japanese language seriously, learning and going to classes and enjoying this process of learning the language, because ultimately my Japanese family are Japanese. So.
Right. And you know, like for you, because you don't speak Japanese, that means he speaks English fluently.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means language was never an issue for you guys, right?
No, but I suppose like there are some times where it's like things are lost in translation.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So maybe like, but there's no like he doesn't understand.
Okay.
But maybe it's like I say something, but he thinks, oh, I thought you meant this. Sometimes he thought I meant something negative, but actually I didn't. I can't think of an example right now, but like
right, okay.
I have to say, you know, when I said that, I meant this, and he's like, oh, okay, I thought you meant that. I was like, no, that would be so rude. Like, but, or like if I get really excited and I talk quite fast.
Okay.
So I think I said something like, we were going to a hotel, and I said something about, oh, did I book the suite? Or something like that. And then I said, oh, did I get the suite? Oh, it's something about the room and the suite. And oh, but never mind, it's okay. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, you know, like about the hotel. He was like, oh, I thought you were talking about like you left some sweets under the bed in our room. But don't worry about it. There are going to be cockroaches and stuff, but it's all going to be fine. And that just like really was funny for me.
What about the in-laws? Because I know in Japan, like, you know, your parents, they're kind of involved, like, you know, how much, like what kind of girl or guy you're meeting up, and then you need to visit and all. How about your in-laws? Like how much they were involved in your whole thing, the dating, and did they even care about it?
Like in my culture, it's like meeting the parents is like, this means business kind of thing. And I was really nervous, and especially because my Japanese isn't great. I was worried, but they have just welcomed me into their family with open arms.
Wow.
They give so much love to me. I feel so lucky because I have heard stories of Japanese parents being quite resistant, especially to foreigners.
Okay.
But I've not felt that at all. They're my Japanese mum and dad, for sure.
How about your husband? Like, is he workaholic? Because in Japan, they say they give priority. Like, number one is job, and second is family. In your case, what is it like?
So to be honest, it's not so late at night,
Okay.
but he does go extremely early in the morning when he
Right.
goes to the office.
Okay.
And I think he, you know, it's not like he just goes there and waits, you know, for other people to leave and then he leaves. Like he works hard
All right.
and is very, very focused on his job. But I wouldn't call it workaholic because I guess I'm kind of like that too. Like
All right.
if you're dedicated and you're focused on your project, it's exciting, you know, you want to work at it.
That's true. Marriage is, you know, next level. What was that one thing that, you know, really impressed about your husband that you were like, man, I gotta marry this guy. Like he is like, you know.
His kindness.
Okay.
Yeah, he just being around that kind of energy, it makes me feel like I'm a better person. It makes me, I'm always inspired by his kindness.
Wow.
When he met my British family.
Okay.
And like he was happy to spend time with them every single day, and if, you know, he just never took anything offensively, and just was the way that he embraced them and like loves them, you know, it was just, that was like, wow, for me.
Right.
Yeah.
If somebody is like dating now a Japanese man or woman and they want to know something about, like, you know, from your experience, you want to tell them like, hey, you know, be respectful of the culture, or, you know, you might expect that and reality or expectation is different, like anything that you want to tell people out there.
Yeah, I mean, so as I said at some point, it's not so much always about like the race or the culture. Of course, you have to respect that there's a difference. And so things that you just take for granted as normal is completely missing in the other culture. So there's a certain awareness that I think you do need to have, but at the same time, it's just two people having a relationship. And so being patient, I think that's like the relationship saver. Be patient, and also be aware that like you may need to be a little bit more patient because it's just completely different expectations.
Thank you so much for your time today. There's a possibility that I missed some questions or some things that you might want to know. I'll put her Instagram and YouTube in the description box below for you to directly contact her. And please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, smile.